Can we move on to North Melbourne, who are at the other end of the spectrum? They're the only team yet to win a game. They're turning the list over and they're getting done on a weekly basis. In fact, their average points conceded per game, Jimmy and Lee, is 123. They've won just one of their last 28 games. And Alistair Clarkson every week speaks about the list build and the journey they're on. He did so again after the game. I want to have a listen to that and then listen to Brendan Bolton talk about his time at Carlton and where they went wrong in their list build.
You've got to do the tough yards and, whether it's what Brisbane have done over the last 5 or 6 years, or what Adelaide's done over the last 2 or 3. Before that, what Melbourne had done. Before that, what Hawthorn had done. What Carlton are now doing, for a long period of time there. The Blues were just, are they ever going to get back up to the top again? You need a little bit of luck with your recruiting and that sort of stuff that you can attract some players along the way. It's not just going to come through the draft for us.
The time at Carlton, there's lots of reflections, Lloydie, and we probably wouldn't go to the depth of rebuild that we did. Like, we turned 45 players over in 3 years. It's probably professional suicide, and it was a whole club approach, but probably wouldn't cut that deep. I've really realised both through the Hawthorn period and now here the importance of leadership on the oval. I think we look to retire people off over 30 very quickly, but leadership on the oval at this level when it's so tight and strong is invaluable.
So it's a tough balance, isn't it? On one hand, you want the Richmond Football Club to cut deep and play some kids. On the other hand, you want clubs like North Melbourne to maybe not cut so quite deep because they need to be competitive on a weekly basis. So if you look how deeply Carlton have cut in that period, 37 players, Brisbane 33 in their rebuild. Melbourne won a flag a few years after cutting deep under Paul Roos. North Melbourne at the moment, they've been cutting deep. That's what Alistair Clarkson's been saying. And St Kilda went through a rebuild as well, Jimmy, where they only cut 26 players, which isn't many, and the rebuild didn't work. So I'd argue it's more about quality over quantity.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the art of list management. Which senior players can actually impact you on the field, Lee? So who do you keep around? Yeah, you've had the experience up there with Luke Hodge coming up and helping emerging Brisbane. He was an on-field coach.
Oh, there's no doubt about it, but they're rare. Luke Hodge is a very rare beast in footy. But remember when we go back to the Giants and the Suns, at the very early stage, the Giants had the best 18-year-olds in the country and they got thrashed every week for a season or two because they had a bit of experience there, but you just can't have youth. You need some good experience, otherwise your youth are going to just get chopped up week after week. So that culling too deeply, people who keep saying, you got to get rid of this player, trade this player out so that we can draft kids. If you've got too many kids at the one time, you can't win.
Tom, and this is Luke McDonald, one of their co-captains, talking about on-field leadership.
It's got to come back to us as players and us as leaders in particular who got to stand up. As I said, us as leaders, we've got to step up and guide the way, which we haven't done it good enough the past few weeks. As I said, like us leaders, we've got to take a look at ourselves and play better and just stick with us. You can see the improvement in the young boys. The leaders, we're going to get it done. And
pretty honest and frank assessment. I think everyone will agree with Luke McDonald's sentiment there. But who can they get?
Well, just before you move to that, Jimmy, is his spot secure? And can you guarantee that a captain remains in the team regardless of how they're playing?
Well, this is a decision for North Melbourne. Is there someone replacing him? Have they got those players there? And we look at the out-of-form Roos leaders, which Luke McDonald highlighted. Jai Simpkin, since being concussed, he's been out of the midfield rotation. He's been parked on the forward line. Aidan Corr, and Luke McDonald have been defending about 50 to 60 inside forward 50s. And Zurhaar, not much supply. And Davies Uniacke, we still haven't seen whether he's signed or not.
Yeah, my question to you, Lee, is you've got a captain of a footy club who's really honest, he's a really well-liked member of the team, but at what point does Alistair Clarkson say, actually, this isn't working, we've got to move in a new direction?
Well, who you got to bring in? That's the point. You can always leave out an experienced player who's struggling, but are you bringing in another 18-year-old? I don't think you're going to be any better if you just bring in the kids. That's what I'm saying. You've got to actually persevere with the Luke McDonalds and players who've got a little bit of experience, because we think they haven't got enough experience, so they should be the last people you're leaving out.
All those players would be fantastic on that list. Senior mids are out of contract, but then they've actually got to want to go as well. That's the other thing. A lot of those guys are at clubs that are going to probably play finals or are very competitive at the moment and still have a big role. But for me, Tom, I think where the AFL, when they step in and give them a hand, it's not about draft picks. They can hold the checkbook. It's around the football department. So if you're going to keep surrounding North Melbourne with young talent and help Alistair Clarkson and North Melbourne build, and football is your main driver, your main economic driver. The actual cost of trying to put money into the football department will be a lot cheaper than the annual distributions that every club get, because North Melbourne's been good, got good community connection, done well off the field with their sponsors and their membership. But how can we get their football absolutely thriving? And
so what do you do then if you're the AFL? Because it's a problem.
I think clubs would be more open, and this is just me, and Lee, you can tell me if I'm wrong here. I think clubs would be more open to assistance around your football department than impacting the draft.
So a larger soft cap, or what, people from the AFL going in and helping them on an advisory basis, Lee? How does it look?
Well, I mean, the clubs don't want to help their oppositions if they can, but that's where the AFL and the Commission and the hierarchy of the AFL, as we know, the whole priority pick concept is that there's no set rules. The Commission have to decide, does a club need help in that area? So in any other area of help potentially that you're referring to, Jimmy, from like guys coming in from the AFL to help out. I mean, I guess it's whether what the North Melbourne hierarchy, I mean, that is from the chairman or the president down, do they think they've got the right people apart from the players? I mean, that's the bottom line.
And my understanding is that they are looking for not just a defender, but also a senior midfielder to help share the load from the young players. So whether it's a Shield or a Ward or a Presti or a Ross, and Port Adelaide might say to Travis Boak, there's no room for you here next year. And the only way he can continue his AFL career is to go to a North Melbourne. And it's a short-term solution, but it does ease the burden on these younger players. So that's certainly one to watch for at the end of the year.